How you guys doing? Good afternoon. Really excited to be here. Game week for the Gamecocks. Getting obviously deep into our opponent. Just excited to see what it's going to be like on Saturday. Hoping guys can control their emotions and go out and have a good time and execute the game plan. Looking forward to Saturday. Any questions?
Clayton, what about EIU has stood out to you as the DC to say that's the one thing we got to stop?
Yep. The main thing that stood out to me with EIU is just their overall improvement as an offense from watching their spring season to watching the game they played against Indiana State on Saturday. Just a big time improvement from that team. Just do a great job of containing their quarterback. I think he does a fantastic job of getting outside the pocket and making plays. They brought in a couple running back. They brought in one running back from Syracuse, number one. He's a horse, so we have to do a great job of containing him and just doing a great job of just rallying to the football and playing team defense is the most important thing on this first game.
As Cam Smith's gotten back out there with you guys the last week or so, however long it's been, what have you seen from him now that he's back running around and doing things?
It's definitely great to see Cam Smith back out there, one of our leaders and one of our better players on this football team. Cam's energy, Cam's excitement to the practice field is very contagious. I think that's one of the things that Coach Beamer harps on is how can you influence another teammate? And just by Cam being out there, and he's done that. So I think that's the first thing that he brings to the table, just his influence amongst his defensive back room and the defense and the football team. He's flying around trying to get back in shape. It's been a month since he's done anything, but it's nice to see him back out there.
Clayton, obviously you've been on the other side of it, but what has Zeb done so far from a defensive perspective that's made things maybe difficult for you guys? What have you guys seen on your side of the ball and what he does to make things difficult?
Well, all coaches always say, they got one more snap left in them, right? So obviously Zeb has a little bit more snaps left in him as a football coach / player. I think that, that's obviously the thing. You not really do a lot of things that can trick him because he's a football coach. His dad's a coach. He was coaching with us, so, he learned from Coach Satterfield, and now he's out there quarterbacking. So that makes it really hard as a defensive coordinator when you're going against a coach. He has more than one snap left, obviously. But I'm happy for the guy. I think it's a great thing for college football. It's a great thing for kids in the future. You just never know what's going to happen. Stay ready so you never have to get ready. It's always the plan.
Clayton, how many more snaps do you have?
That's a great question. I can give you one, but the ball has to run to me.
Okay.
There's no chasing the ball that way. I got one snap in me, and it has to come to me.
Yeah. And I guess from a perspective of what you want to see Saturday from this defense, just what are some goals that you want to accomplish? What are some things that you want to see this defense do as you get into actual games and bullets are live?
Obviously on Saturday, the one thing that can keep you up at night is that Eastern Illinois, they played a bunch of football games, in the spring. They played one already this fall. We haven't played one yet together under the Beamer era. To me, it's just going to be operating at a timely fashion, getting calls in, guys getting the calls from the sideline, unbelievable communication. Those are to be the things, just operating, communicating. But on the field-wise, we want to see guys. We've done a lot of conditioning here under Coach Day and his staff, and I want to see guys flying to the football. That's the first thing I want to see in game one. And obviously the operation mode that we're going to be in, getting plays in, communicating, all those things. But those are the main first goals for this first game.
Your defensive line is a real experienced group. What do you feel like that you'll see out of them this weekend, and what are some things that you hope you see from them as well?
Yep. So, obviously we want to get lined up correctly. We're going against Eastern Illinois to have a pretty veteran O-line. All those guys came back from the spring for the most part. They moved some guys around up front, but want to see our guys, come out and really, really start the game out fast and, make sure we're watching the ball, staying on sides, no silly penalties, and staying in that gap, playing primary and secondary gaps up front and making plays and getting off blocks and flying to the football and creating pressure.
I guess it differs from defensive coordinator to defensive coordinator, but just how many linebackers do you anticipate playing Saturday, and is it a rotation, or do you just like to stick with your top two guys over the course of a game?
Well, right now going into the game is definitely a planned rotation with 3 guys, but the goal will be to try to get 5 guys in the game to play. We want to get some guys in there so they can rotate and play. It all depends on how the game goes. You can't expect anything. There's no telling right now, but right now it's 3 to 5 is where I'm looking at the linebacker rotation standpoint.
Clayton, I know the safety spots have been hotly contested during camp. On Saturday, how do you challenge those guys, maybe whether it's a pregame message or during a timeout early in the game or something? How do you challenge those guys to get them to really realize that they're still in a competition and you know, they could maybe not start the next week?
Yeah. Well, you know, the starting aspect is not really. I mean, obviously, guys want to get starts under their belt, but the motivation is to just improve every single day at your craft. You know, so this is another opportunity to improve. So we take it day by day at all our positions, and our ultimate goal is to improve every single rep that we show up, every single meeting. And I think that, you know, we just keep that approach that'll keep us on task to maximize our potential and play our best. So that's really how we will talk to those guys. Won't put any pressure on them on game day. You know, we've had 30 straight days of fall camp of pressure, and now is the time for them to bring it all in and just go out and play the game and make, you know, just play smart football at that position. You know, the thing about a safety spot is your mistakes show up on the scoreboard. You know, so it's not like up front where a D tackle can miss his gap and the linebacker plugs it for a 1 yard gain and nobody knew. But DB's mistakes show up on the scoreboard, so we got to do a great job of playing smart.
David Spaulding was listed on our depth chart as a starter at nickel. What have you seen out of him? What makes him so dynamic to play at that position?
Yep. What we like about David the most is that he's kind of like a coach himself. Got a lot more snaps left than most of the coaches, but he's kind of like a football coach on the field himself. He came in and he's one of those guys that, you know, he loves being over here in the building to learn football. He's like teaching his players. He has to influence himself. I think that Coach Gray has done an amazing job with him as far as preparing him to play the nickel spot. And, you know, he's embraced it. He wanted it from the very first day, and that helps a ton. But what he does is he has some length in that position. He plays some speed and some playmaking ability. Those are the things that we look for.
Clayton, Zach's been around. Zach Pickens has been around for a while, obviously listed as a starter in the interior. Just where have you seen the biggest jump from him from maybe spring to now, and how do you think he's ready as a junior to step in and be one of those premier defensive tackles in the SEC?
Absolutely. Zach Pickens has improved at his technique. Coach Lindsey has put the progression together with Zach, and Zach's taking it all in. That's the best part about when, you know, we talk to our coaches about, you know, it's really easy to get an average player to play better and improve every single day. The really good coaches get the great players to improve and stay consistent, and that's what Coach Lindsey has done with Zach. He's a great player who's gotten better, and has gotten better every single week. So we're looking forward to see him play in the game on Saturday, see if he can take that practice, those practice habits and those drills and those techniques to the game on Saturday, and just continue to do it. And if he does that, he's going to be one of the best tackles in the conference. There's without a doubt.
Stat was in here, and when he was asked about, you know, not showing everything he's got in the playbook, how do you kind of balance that with not giving up, you know, all of your best looks and calls and that kind of thing?
You know, really, first and foremost, you want to go out and win the football game, and I'm more focused on us as a defense. I'm not gonna sit here and say I'm gonna open up the playbook and call every call, but there are some staples that we will run every single week. And so I'm not afraid to show those. So my film is already out from WKU anyway, so it's not like I have anything to hide. There's 4 years of it. You know, most people are going to put the work in and get it figured out in the summer, so I have nothing to hide, to be honest with you. Thank you guys very much. Have a good one.